South Africa this week marks a year since the July unrest that swept through KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng provinces. The unrest believed to have been sparked by the imprisonment of former President Jacob Zuma for contempt of court caused widespread looting of shops and businesses, leading to the deaths of over 300 people. To reflect on these events, we are joined via Zoom by the Executive Director for the Foundation for Human Rights as we mark the first year of the July unrest in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Vally. Thanks very much for joining us here on SABC News.
Good afternoon to you too.
Well, a year on since that disruption that wreaked havoc in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng, how far have we come in addressing the challenges that brought about these two provinces to a standstill? I mean, we've certainly been keeping a watch on those hearings that had been indeed ongoing.
Well, how far have we come? I mean, it's an important question, because have the people who were responsible for those incidents, which led to close to 300 deaths, been held accountable? And, you know, we accept that one of the major causes of violation of human rights is impunity. So are we having a situation where there's impunity? Why is it that people have not been prosecuted? Why is it that the people who made threats and laughed at the suffering of the people at the time it took place are still making insinuations and threats that these events will take place again? It just seems very strange that there is no accountability, and without accountability, incidents may occur again. The groundswell of the unhappiness with unemployment, with the ending of the 350 Rand grant, with the massive youth unemployment especially, is going to lead to more problematic situations when people are not held accountable for their actions, especially when deaths are involved.
Yeah, and just on that, I mean, you know, when we're talking about accountability, I mean, it's quite clear in some instances to pick up who should be held accountable for some of that violence. I mean, if, for example, one is to look at what happened in Phoenix, I mean, there were videos that were making the rounds of people literally being killed in Phoenix. So why is it that we find a situation where we're not actually pinpointing where the blame should be for those deaths that you speak of?
Yes, I mean, there's on different levels. I understand that there's some trials about to commence regarding some of the people who are accused of what happened in Phoenix. And I think that's a very important issue. But also the people who instigated the whole issue in the first place, the people who went around the country from KwaZulu-Natal to Mooi River to Gauteng, instigating the violence. What about those people? There'll always be opportunists in between. There'll always be criminal elements in between. There'll always be this vast army of unemployed people who will not miss an opportunity. But what about the people who created the situation in the first place? You know, I would have thought there'd be a cleaning out of all the police senior hierarchy in KwaZulu-Natal, where, you know, you saw in slow motion looting and destruction taking place without any police in sight. Why wasn't the army called out to assist the police at the time? Those are, for me, the bigger questions. I think it's correct that the people who are responsible for murders in Phoenix be charged. And I believe some of them have been charged. But it's a bigger picture, the people who created the situation. Why are we hearing nothing about that?
Yeah. Well, the ground is still fertile for any sort of unrest or uprising in our country. As you rightly mentioned, there are still, you know, people, many in our society who are unemployed, those who will take advantage of situations like these, people who have nothing to lose at the end of the day. So one would actually have to look at the kind of society that we live in, that we've created, and that we've actually created this sort of fertile ground where we're comfortable comfortable, being, living our lives, yet knowing that there are downtrodden people and people who actually haven't got the basics, and we're so very comfortable to live amongst those people, knowing the kind of conditions that they live in. Surely the blame should also in some instances be attributed to us generally as South Africans for what we saw last year. We all have some sort of stake in it.
There's a yes and no. First of all, we have elected people to be the political managers in our country. And these are the people who have primary responsibility, number one. Number two, there have been extensive studies that the more serious inequality is within a society, the more socioeconomic problems there will be, from homicides to innovation to all sorts of issues, because of the inequality in the society. So yes, none of us should be comfortable. Yes, we are responsible for each other. I am because you are. That should be the principle which drives us. And we must keep fighting for a better society, like we're trying to do right now in this interview. But it does not in any way take away from the responsibility of the government, who have been given this task to address these issues, and in fact have exacerbated the issues by, number one, their corruption, and number two, by defending the corrupt.
All right. Thanks very much for speaking to us there. Hanif Vally is representing the Human Rights Foundation for Human Rights. He's the executive director there.